It always seems like it takes a few seconds for the Bluetooth or the wireless, you know what, I don't even know anymore, uh, a microphone to kick in. It's like as soon as you turn it on, you got to go, test, 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 and then wait a second for it to register, I guess. Why that is, I have no idea. Have I tried to do any updates to Bluetooth drivers and such? Of course, doesn't matter. It's becoming a problem with these devices, and especially in my little area, well, in my bunker down here in the basement where all the tech is. There's a lot of signals flying around in here. So there's that. Okay, so we're looking at just making sure I'm recording. Yeah, looks good. So we're looking at putting out stuff for the Ancients game. And there's no particular determination as to how big the forces are going to be. I just simply know that because I've got the cards made like this, that there are two divisions, we'll call them. You could call them legions per side right now. And I don't know if all those are going to be at the very beginning of the game, just from the very beginning. Line them all up and just go at it, because that's typical for Ancients, medieval, just so you can see what's going on. And that's part of the reason. You wanted to keep your line organized as much as possible, because you didn't have binoculars. You didn't have optical devices of any kind to see very far. So if you couldn't see, yeah, you had issues. Which is why you never hear of an Ancients game or a medieval game being played in at the beginning where there's fog. Although they start maybe in fog, but then the fog lifts. If the fog doesn't lift, there ain't no battle. You'll also note over here we have two wagons. It's simply a temptation to lure players to get them for their baggage value, and two elephants over here. The elephant situation is another conversation, but what we'll do is we'll put out some troops and we'll have a look and we'll do some testing and some demoing so you can see how this is potentially going to go. On a technology update, by the way, I'm now able to engage with, interact with a tablet from a distance because I was able to successfully locate a Bluetooth microphone, sorry, a Bluetooth mouse. And the mouse enables me to manipulate the screen of the tablet. Again, the tablet itself is Chrome desktop sharing with the PC behind me. So again, the tablet is simply a monitor, interactive monitor, if you will, of the PC behind me. That's interesting stuff. Anyway, so I don't know which side is going to be where, but I'll just put the Carthaginians down here and put the Romans in the distance. And try not to dump the whole tray, which is over on my right, at the same time. Okay, that's the Romans. You might say, hey, that's a lot of troops. For a situation like this, it might be. And I may have to cut some back. Because the quad game at Adepticon is going to be 4 different battles all at the same time. And so therefore, it still has to be done quickly. It can't take forever. And although I am going to be there for 2 days running the demo, having this many troops might be a problem. So let's start with skirmishers, because they're the least, they're the fastest moving thing, as well as cavalry. So again, you see we have our little disc thing. It's, again, simply a convenience. It's turning out to be actually the go-to thing, because of the convenience of moving these skirmishers around. But as you can imagine, because of their proximity, the way they're designed, the truth of the matter is it's supposed to be just one skirmisher stand per hex. So you can see that that's an entire skirmish line, and that's the idea. So we'll keep them on their little movement trays for now. And periodically, as we go through these, we'll do some painting updates because these haven't been looked at in a long time. And again, I have not put out any decoration for the creek. The creek is what it is right now, and you see the little fords are being represented by, well, ford terrain. All right. I thought I had. Yeah, I do have one stand of mounted. I should say I have two stands of mounted skirmisher, which are the Numidian cavalry, and I have two stands of Spanish cavalry. Which is interesting. And I have two stands of heavy Carthaginian, I think they're referred to as sacred band infantry. These would be the heavily phalanx type infantry. And in case anybody's wondering, these are Zvezda, because Zvezda has made the best Carthaginian package, if you will. Most of these are actually hat industry figures. For instance, the Spanish infantry, which I'm putting out, which is only 2 units, and it looks like the rest of this is African. I believe they would be called Libyan Phoenician. A Libby Phoenician. Or at least I think they were referred to like that. All right, so you can see that we have, I'll make sure I don't put this down on top of anything. We have some interesting variety, and that's the good thing about, having stuff with the Carthaginians. Well, any ancient ethnic group, there's a lot of variety because they had, a lot of situations. The elephants are, like I said earlier, another conversation, but the truth of the matter is they're just essentially a tank without any weapon. You're basically using the elephant to bowl over and run into opponents. But if you've ever seen an elephant, which we did 2 years ago in Africa, if this thing is still being guided by a mahout, you're not going to want to stand in front of it at all, and you're either going to run away or just try and get out of the way. And so, ergo, the idea of the elephants was that they would have to be supported, mixed in with light infantry and or skirmishers, which is the idea. The presence of the elephant causes fear in the opponent, such that in practical speaking terms and rules, if you had never, units have to be marked as experience with elephants. That's another issue. You should note if any of your units have experienced elephants before. They should be noted for that. If not, assuming nobody has, then okay. Are you going to automatically disrupt them? You automatically, when they get within range, add a minus or a incremental hit or a casualty hit? Well, should you die roll it? I think it's suffice to say that it's like a saving throw. If you're facing an elephant and you haven't had any experience before, the chances of you wanting to stay there and fight it are pretty remote. So like a CNC results on the die. In other words, the star. Okay. So if you roll star, you're good. You can fight it. If you don't, you're going to get an incremental hit or a casualty hit on your unit that's facing that elephant. And it's a simple fact of even odd if you want to play it like that, because we don't know how severe the damage is going to be. You have to show the disruption somehow. And do you want to just give it a fatigued indicator? In other words, make the whole unit fatigued, which implies and results in a combat penalty, a loss of zone of control, all that kind of stuff. Should you mark it fatigued, meaning that they can't get out of fatigue until they stand still? That's another, that would be relatively severe. So I'm in favor of just going with the potential for damage. Again, a saving throw, a CNC symbol on the die means you're fine. Otherwise, you're going to suffer either an incremental hit or a casualty hit. It's just simply an even odd or red-blue die roll. So red, whatever you like to make it, blue, whatever you like to make it. Okay, that said, so the elephant approaches the unit, and mixed in with the elephant is light infantry. Now, is that light infantry next to it or completely around it? Well, as we are using hexes, the whole unit of light infantry is in a single hex. So, ergo, the reason for skirmishers, they are occupying only, each stand of skirmisher occupies a hex, fine. And around the elephant, you can put the skirmishers. You can put them beside it or in front of it, but likely not in front of it. So I would say if you do it in front of it, I guess it would be okay. You can manage it that way. And then the skirmishers can simply start throwing their skirmish weapons. If they're slingers, there you go. And by the way, don't underestimate the value of slingers. Someone throwing a good-sized rock at you from a distance at pretty good velocity, that's going to hurt. Especially so if you've got armor on, okay, but you don't have armor on your elbow, and you don't have armor for the most part, and you didn't have the greaves coming up to the knee. The greaves would just be on the shin. Only if you were a very rich mercenary did you have greaves that came up and covered the knee. So yes, and by the way, pelvis, okay, you got a shield to protect your central body, but maybe you don't expect the missiles to be coming at you. Okay, you see the skirmishers coming, okay, you got to put the shield in front. But what if the skirmishers are both front and side? Now you've got, an issue. So it's always a potential damage when it comes to those damn skirmishers. So that's it for the elephant and the skirmishers. And of course, the African contingent is all light infantry. So light infantry versus Roman is, well, as you can imagine, it would be difficult. But there is an issue here, and that is that all of the Carthaginians are essentially motivated. They are going to be classified, well, let's just say +1 in combat. So their +1 in combat negates the Roman armor, and that is true. So when they get into a melee, they're going to fight just as if they were Romans because they're so motivated. They're, if not just trained, but these are kind of badass people. They're motivated to repel, destroy the bad empire. So that's what they're doing. And they are sculpted in such a way to make them look like, they're not really serious. Really? Wearing a robe in combat? Well, be that as it may, the fact is they're still motivated. They just don't look, the sculpting doesn't make them look like they're very motivated. What does that mean? Well, they look like they're wearing bathrobes. The hat version, yeah, that's true. And it's true. And that it looks kind of silly. So that you really can't take them seriously, but take them seriously. Because there are a lot of them. Now, when it comes to the Spaniards, well, Spaniards not so much. And the reason for that is because they were kind of conscripted more than the Africans were, believe it or not. So the Spaniard contingent is a little bit less motivated. And also, there's mixed loyalties in there. The Romans are starting to have an effect in Hispania, Hispaniola, and they're having an effect on making some certain villages not so sure if they want to support the Carthaginians, because the Romans are essentially bribing everything. So the Spaniards are fighting, but they won't get that +1. They're going to be light infantry. They're going to be light infantry. And only the Africans are going to get that +1. Now, this is not including the Carthaginian, sacred band phalanx. That's a completely different story. These guys are +1 versus the Romans. So that's what we have, and we'll come back and set it up for actual testing. Now this is where I get to click from a distance, which is better. I mean, I can close gracefully. Right?